6:30 India time and 5 p.m. Philippines and Singapore time and 12 noon at Israel. And I don't know what time is it for the rest of the world. For all those who have joined across the globe today, a warm welcome to one and all. From digital transformation to leadership alignment, today's summit will spotlight how GCCs are tackling talent challenges and capitalizing on growth opportunities across APAC. Before we proceed, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Padmaja Vaswani, fondly called Paddy, the CEO and Director of News India and founder and CEO of Shiksha Group. Over the years, for the last 3 decades, I've worked with leaders across industries, focusing on leadership and organizational development. And today, I'm thrilled to be your host for this summit and bring together thought leaders and experts from across APAC. Before we dive into today's session, a quick check on the housekeeping. Please keep your microphones on mute unless speaking. Feel free to keep your cameras on. We would love that. Use the chat functions if you want to share some insights or ask any questions. We will try and respond to most of your questions. In case of any technical difficulties, please reach out to Aishwarya and Trina, who are part of our team, and they will support you. And last but not the least, this session is being recorded and will be shared in snippets post-event. And grab a notebook if you want to take very insightful notes from our stalwarts from the industry present here today. Stay hydrated. It's a 90-minute session, and we will keep it completely packed and get set ready for this insightful session. We aim today to explore the emerging trends shaping the GCC sector across APAC. We also wish to share insights on talent and leadership development within the GCCs and how we could foster collaboration among industry experts to address some of the common challenges that we all encounter. We will also spotlight how new solutions have been instrumental in driving leadership excellence within GCCs. Let me quickly dive into the GCC landscape across APAC for us to know why this topic today for this summit. The GCC, or the GIC sector as it is known in some of the APAC region, is experiencing an unprecedented growth. A quick sneak preview to various regions within APAC. India is home to over 1,700 GCCs and projected to reach almost 2,200 by the year 2030. Singapore continues to attract multinational corporations due to its strategic positioning. The Philippines is emerging as a cost-effective destination for global services, while China is heavily investing in data centers driven by digital transformation. And Thailand and Vietnam are bolstering their logistics and tech sectors respectively in this region. And not to miss, Australia is experiencing a surge in data center constructions, reinforcing its GCC position. So, as we set the stage for today's discussion, let's quickly remember that GCCs as an industry have evolved from cost centers to strategic innovation hubs. What a move. Our focus today, therefore, my dear friends, is on nurturing talent and leadership to sustain growth, exploring collaboration opportunities, and last but not the least, with the industry stalwarts joining us today, sharing best practices that could help us overcome these future of the talent force challenges. So a quick glimpse of today's agenda. We will kick off this introduction to the summit by our beloved visionary and thought leader, Aviyad Ghosh. Next, our partner from Singapore, Ms. Elaine, will present on emerging trends in the GCC talent landscape. This is going to be followed by an insightful panel discussion with the GCC industry stalwarts led by Vivek Tiwari from India and June Morfori from the Philippines, focusing on critical talent considerations in the GCC sector. We will also have an interesting presenter who's been kind enough to join, who's one of our esteemed clients, Dotan Ben-Meir from Qualitest, highlighting some impactful talent strategies that they've applied. And last but not the least, our CEO of News Navigation, Sarah Marcus, will provide closing remarks and outline the next steps of this summit. So moving on. Friends, it's my distinct honor to introduce our visionary leader whose work has profoundly shaped leaders across industries and across geographies. Aviad Ghosh, the founder and chairman of News Navigation and the creator of the simple and profound News Compass model, has guided over 1,800 organizations worldwide in navigating change effectively. Today, he joins us through a special video message from Ecuador, where he shares his insights on the essence of the news model and its impact on leadership navigation, particularly within GCCs. Let's now hear from Aviad.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the News GCC APAC Summit. I am Aviad Ghosh, the creator of the News Compass. First of all, I'd like to thank all the panelists that will join us today and all our team in the region that allow this event to happen. Over the last 20 years, we accompanied with the News Compass very closely hundreds of startups, organizations, and also GCCs around the globe and in this region particularly. We created special programs in news, such as how to navigate your talented people in the organization and retain them. We created programs for leadership development, for team leaders, how to mentor and coach the talented people for long-term development inside the organization. We helped senior leaderships use the News Compass to navigate whole organizations and teams through troubled times and through a lot of challenges. And we helped a lot of these companies to succeed over the years. We created very, very close relationship and bondage with our teams locally here in APAC, especially News India and Philippines, but throughout the region. And through their work and our cooperation together, we really helped a lot of GCCs flourish, grow, and develop over time. We helped them by leadership development training, by organizational development, by executive coaching, and sometimes full-scale transformation. It is almost as news was born and created exactly for the needs of GCCs in this region. Now that we are again in challenging times and through a lot of difficulties and turbulences, the News Compass is now more relevant than ever before, and is now also AI assisted for your usage. So I invite you to take part with us today in this great happening, to share knowledge and experience and come out of it more rich, with more knowledge, more expertise, and more ready to face the challenging world that we all live in. So thank you very much for joining, and I wish you a great time. Thank you.
Wow. It was wonderful and great to hear Aviad's warm greetings and his insightful message on navigating leaders through the news model across industries, not only pertaining to APAC and the GCCs, but across geographies and many organizations. Now, let's shift our focus to the topic of the day, emerging talent trends shaping the GCC landscape across APAC. May I invite our next speaker, Ms. Elaine Sacado, the founder and director of Power New, Singapore, and the Philippines, to share her perspectives on what's emerging in the talent landscape of GCCs across the region. Elaine, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Patty. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're based from. Allow me to share the current and future trends and priorities in talent and leadership impacting various geographies and functions within GCCs. So we are using the EY research, and based on that survey by EY, 86% cited service expansion as their top priority with focus on transformation, innovation, and knowledge-based capabilities. In fact, 69% of them are driving enterprise-wide digital transformation initiatives. The report also says GCCs are expanding beyond IT, customer service, finance, HR, and supply chain. And they are now exploring domains like marketing, legal, and ESG, or environmental, social, and governance. A promising story is that 25% of global company headcounts are now within GCCs. So that emphasizes the growing strategic importance of this segment. However, with that comes a challenge. There's an average attrition rate of 12.5%. And 75% of the survey respondents expressed that the increased attrition driven by the competitive talent landscape continues to pose a high to medium risk for their business. So moving forward into the emerging talent trends in APAC GCCs, as you can see on the screen, 4 different research companies had different interesting trends on talent development. EY mentioned that 77% of GCCs continue to operate on hybrid model, and that balances flexibility and productivity. While KPMG mentioned that 70% of organizations view talent as a top priority, hence the need for strategic workforce planning. Now, PwC focused on the technological expertise such as AI, data analytics, and cybersecurity, which are needed for the future. And Deloitte, interestingly, on the average salary increment, they said that for 2025, it's been 8.8%, reflecting a competitive talent market. Now, let's look at trends in leadership development and future-ready skills. There are 3 that stand out. Human-centric leadership, which emphasizes empathy, adaptability, and continuous learning. Digital proficiency, which is not a surprise in this day and age. It includes capabilities in AI, machine learning, and cloud computing. And last but not the least, succession planning. It is very important to ensure leadership continuity and leadership sustainability. Of course, with these trends come opportunities and challenges. Let us look at the opportunities. GCCs are evolving into innovation hubs, which means it is a very strategic positioning now for GCCs. That said, GCCs can leverage on the diverse talent pools across Asia-Pacific countries. On the other hand, there are very real challenges that GCCs face, such as previously mentioned, talent attrition, which is now averaging about 12.5%. With that, of course, is the challenge of talent retention. There's also a need to fast-track the development of skills between current and the future capabilities. And lastly, diversity comes with its own challenge, which is cultural integration. And so the question now is, what lies ahead? What is changing? What is the future of GCCs? So we reached out to HR and L&D leaders from across the region to hear their unfiltered views on how GCCs are evolving. what talent trends they're seeing, and what leadership needs to look like in the next phase. What you'll see are not just insights, but real signals or patterns that are already shaping the future of global capability centers in the region. So on your screen, you could see that leaders are saying the same thing. We can't run on old talent models anymore. 90% of them are pushing for a move to skill-first hiring. This means less focus on credentials, more on capabilities. They also see a huge need for building robust learning ecosystem, not just one-off training, but continuous reskilling built into the flow of work. And interestingly, many talked about infinite mindset. What does that mean? The idea of always growing, evolving, and staying ready. Now, when asked about what trends they see for the next 2 years, everybody mentioned the same three: hybrid work, upskilling, and emotional intelligence. On that last item, I'd like to just say this saying that I learned, recently. With more AI comes a need for more EI. So AI is EI. This isn't hype. It's becoming the new baseline. Now, when we ask the HR leaders to look ahead, the message was clear. The role of leadership needs to shift fast. Most leaders said GCCs need to empower team to take risks and create a space where it's okay to fail, learn, and try again. At the same time, they want environments that are flexible, aligned to the purpose, and truly future ready. For LNOD, the top priorities are also changing. Reskilling is non-negotiable now, but it's also about retention. People want growth, purpose, and velocity in their careers. And culturally, navigating headquarter expectation versus local talent realities is still a big one, whether it's around work-life balance or leadership style. So looking ahead, the biggest innovations will be AI-powered learning, immersive development models, and stronger mental health and DEI practices. So we're not just talking about skill. We're actually talking about holistic well-being and growth and sustainability. So we recognize that these are big key themes that we've talked about in the last 10 minutes. And we hope that our panel discussion can bring these themes and topics to more practical and tangible ideas and actions from which we can all gain insights, learn from, and act on. So as we navigate through our continuously changing times, let us share insights, best practices, learn from this summit, learn from each other to seek answers to the main question: how can GCCs effectively align their talent strategies to not only drive operational excellence, but to become centers of innovation and leadership within the Asia-Pacific region? So let me now turn you back to Patty to introduce our esteemed panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elaine. Wow, that was a lot of insights, and thank you for shedding light on the evolving talent landscape in GCCs across APAC. And I know this is a real feed data that we also managed to collect from our regions respectively.
Yes.
Well, now we move to the key highlight of the day, the panel discussion on critical GCC talent considerations with our diverse and esteemed panelists from the GCC industry. And moderating this insightful session and believing it's going to be quite incredible and impactful are Vivek Tiwari, founder and leadership consultant and executive coach from Pragyan Advisory India. And he's joined by June Marfori, director, Power Renew from the Philippines. And as I said, both are very accomplished principal consultants in the talent and leadership transformation space. Vivek and June, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Padmaja. Hello and warm welcome to everyone. It is my pleasure to host this panel discussion. I am Vivek Tiwari from Pragyan Advisory, based out of India. We offer consulting services in the areas of leadership development, team alignment, and organizational culture. And together with me in this segment is my co host, June Mafori. June?
Thank you so much, Vivek. And it is my pleasure to co-host this with you, Vivek. My name is June Marfori, and I would like to greet everyone. I am from Powering You Training and Coaching Philippines, and I am based out of Manila in the Philippines. It is my honor to co-host with Vivek in this panel, and we are very excited because we have in our midst individuals who play out prominently in the GCC space. And allow me to introduce two of them first, Vivek, before I hand over back to you for two more of our panelists. First, I'd like to introduce JP Nadales. He is based out of the Philippines and is head of global learning for the Merck Group. JP leads global learning and development in the Merck Group, and he brings extensive experience in shaping future-ready talent development strategies across markets. Hello, JP, and welcome.
Hello, June. It's a pleasure, and it's so nice to see very exciting viewpoints. And I
Thank
can't wait to share mine later today.
We are eager to hear from you, JP. Thank you. And then now I'd like to introduce our next panelist. He is Paulo Lao, who is country manager of Dexcom. Paulo is also the chairman of the GICC Council of the Philippines. Paulo is an accomplished healthcare leader with strong commercial and people-centric mindset, and currently heading Dexcom's operations in the Philippines. Paulo, it's good to see you again. Welcome.
Thank you, June. Good to see you again. Just a little quick correction. I'm actually 15 years in banking and just made the shift to healthcare about 3 years ago. So the background is in banking.
Thank you, Paulo. Then you'd bring in a lot more than we initially thought. Thank you for that. Back to you, Vivek.
Thank you, June. Now, please allow me to introduce Amit Dubey, who is a board director, Airbnb Global Capability Center, and who brings an astute lens on travel and hospitality through innovation, governance, and tech-enabled organizational growth. A bit more about him. He's earlier worked in senior positions with global and reputable organizations like American Express and Uber. And of course, he has been an ex-officer of the Indian Army. Amit, welcome.
Thanks a lot, Vivek and June. It's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to learning and sharing. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And please now allow me to introduce Shama Dheer, Leader, Strategy and Transactions, EY GDS India. Sharma is a seasoned professional with 25 plus years of experience in the industry. Her experience is quite varied in investment banking, merger and acquisition, F&A operations in captive offshoring and consulting environment. At present, Sharma is working as service delivery leader for the M&A services in EY. Sharma, a warm welcome.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, June. Likewise, looking forward to learning from all of you and looking forward to an interesting discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so as we start, please now allow me to direct my first question. And Amit, we are starting with you. So the first question that I have for you, where we would like to get your views and perspective is, in your specific industry, and more specifically your organization, how do you envision the journey of GCC over the next 3 to 4 years? And subsequent to that is another thing. Where and how do you see GCCs adding significant value to the organization? As the data shows, 25% of the workforce is in the GCC. So those are the two questions. Over to you, Amit.
Thanks so much, Vivek. And for context, I would say sort of being in this in-house center or capability center industry for almost 2 decades and studying sort of where it started for for generally Asia, I would say, specifically from global companies, what we have observed is that it started back in the, I would say, 90s when you had, the cables being laid down, internet sort of helping organizations, not internet later on, but like phone lines, etc., helping processes being broken down. It started from this key idea that you could break your processes and have something called delivery centers where some part of work gets done out of different parts of the world for various reasons, primarily cost arbitrage. And then, when it came to like 2010s, primarily most of the tech companies and the technology jobs as such that they can be within, let's say, the Western world can be done in a distributed manner. That started to sort of spread across. And what teams started to experiment with was sort of distributed leadership, where you could do product development or run anything end to end from any part of the world. And that is the journey that I have seen, whether it was American Express, who actually set up their, they didn't call it Global Capability Center, but it's a
Financial Center East. Financial Center East, yeah.
Yeah, financial center. And in fact, if you look at it, Amex was in sort of their unsecured lending space, right? They have changed quite a lot as a business. I mean, they started as a freight forwarding company, but now they're a financial institution. What they did was, so today they offer credit cards, and their main business is basically two risks that they manage. Their main business in issuing cards is fraud risk and credit risk. And the global risk management center in early 2000s, so 2001, 2002 timeframe, was built in India. So for a global behemoth like that to sort of leverage India's talent landscape was, I would say, they were one of the pioneers. And over a period of time, GE, Genpact, others have followed suit. And then the likes of Google, Microsoft also sort of built their development centers here, but it was still more back office-ish. But like 2010 onwards, what I've seen is that, more and more companies started to kind of do end-to-end product development. And that's what I witnessed at Uber, where the global head of rides business, and the CTO basically sits out of Bangalore, where the CEO is in San Francisco. So like, companies are taking such bets and similar developments even at Airbnb. What I would say is two things. One is that one of our executives used to say, global people build global products. So if you want to succeed in this sort of in this kind of place where you want your product to do well, like for us at Airbnb, and I've only seen like Amex is present in 21 odd countries or 20 odd countries. Uber is 60 odd countries, and Airbnb is 220 countries. So just it's, and of course makes it very complex, etc. But for us to succeed, having global offices or global talent is foundational. That's truly is what is needed for us to take that product and kind of localize it and still keep a combination of that. And the second is from a capability center standpoint, which we've been on a journey, but I would say advent of things like AI will only accelerate it. We still feel AI is, again, like just any other tool. It's one of the tools that exists, which can help you solve your customer's problem, because that's what ultimately what you should be aiming for. Customers don't care you leverage AI or you use something else to solve their problems. Is that, in the GCC space, we're seeing more and more companies sort of owning the end-to-end journey, from product development to actually the execution of processes. So yeah, it's going to be very exciting next few years. And as, of course, I think Elaine shared, there are, of course, challenges in that as well. So I think we'll get to it. But yeah, that's something I'm really excited about.
Thank you, Amit. So we heard few things. One is, of course, the way it has shaped up from processes, a part of it coming to India, more essentially from cost arbitrage, and then eventually now moving up to an end-to-end product development coming, where exceptionally bright, important, critical talents, even based out of India, like the example that you gave of the CTO based out of India. That's a phenomenal journey that we have traveled as far as the GCC is concerned. What I will do now is I'll direct the same question to Shama. Shama, the same question to you. In your specific industry and organization, how do you envision the journey of GCC over the next 3 to 4 years?
Thanks, Vivek. And I think the journey would be very similar to what Amit mentioned. I started my career with GE Capital. It was a captive unit, then it became an outsourcing unit. Right? We started with something which was basic as processes, something like accounts payable, accounts receivables. And that time, the top end of services in the GCC space was financial reporting and FP&A, which both GE Capital as well as American Express did. I think that was the starting point, and things just evolved from there on. Then we came into a stage wherein RPAs, or robotic process automation, started coming in, and that's where the technology started disrupting how processes were to be run. We got into a good Six Sigma lean phase, looking at bringing in efficiency. I think most of the GCCs ran at an efficiency of 25 to 30% over a period of 2 to 3 years, if not more. I mean, GE was an exception. We always wanted to do things differently, to where eventually we landed. And today, as I speak on behalf of consulting industry, this, I would say, is another spectrum to what GCCs enable us to do. One is big consulting industries, which would be in tech consultings, wherein we are almost doing the entire tech implementations, big ERP implementations, majorly led from India. But I think there is another end to it, which is about investment banking, which is about mergers and acquisitions. And very similar to what Amit was saying, I think the more technology plays its role, and the more we are able to bring in the right set of talent with right pedigree, not just the junior most talent, because some of them would self-disrupt themselves by technology. I think we are able to run almost end-to-end of engagements like financial due diligence, engagements like valuations. I mean, who would have thought about 20, 25 years back when this industry started that this is a state, and today also it's not just stopping, right? And now with the advent of AI and generative AI, more so particularly, I think all what we are seeing is many of the knowledge processing outsourcing centers that we have, those would get disrupted. We would have a new way of looking at how do we harvest data, and then how GCCs can use it. And I think the more we think of center of excellence from here, the more senior level positions, we would see in the GCC space. It's only for this industry to run as fast as the opportunity lies. So opportunities are immense. I do think a good combination of right set of talent, right set of learning and training for the talent, which, seeing this group, I'm pretty hopeful we should be able to get, and right combination of technology. So the triangulation of all three of them should definitely disrupt this industry and disrupt how we look at overall delivery across majority of the services industry. And manufacturing is another animal. I'm not an expert in manufacturing, but services industry, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Shama. So we heard about the importance of technology. We heard about the importance of talent. We heard about how initially it used to be a piecemeal, efficiency-driven approach to a particular project, more so in the deliveries. And now it's an end-to-end thing, whether it's product development or on the investment banking side. And that's how we are moving up the value chain as far as the GCC is concerned. I think that was a wonderful response. Thank you both, Amit and Shama. I'm passing on to June. June, to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Vivek. And I think we heard from our two panelists just the spectrum of the origin as well as the beginnings, and into what the foreseeable or unforeseeable future might be. Shama very aptly used the word disruption. So I'm going to turn over to JP now, because actually Shama ended up quoting talent and the need for talent. And so JP, who heads learning and development, this question I think might be the most appropriate for you, just taking off from where Shama left over. And, you have a perspective, JP, to share from a global and learning development perspective. So here's the question for you. What are the top 2 or 3 considerations that companies in this space or segment, GCCs, are confronted with today? And when it comes to particularly the need for key talent to fill all of these critical positions? JP?
Thank you, June. Thank you, June. And aside from being a global head for learning and development, I also manage a group of volunteers globally that handle employee engagement. So I think most of the insights that I would be sharing today really merges talent as well as making sure that we make them happy. So the first consideration that we actually would like to share is we need to balance deep technical capability with sustained engagement. So while hiring for emerging skills like AI, cloud, it's critical, but retaining the talent is an equally big challenge, especially when the work feels disconnected from the purpose or the impact of that organization. I belong to the Global Enterprise Solutions, which is the enabling function of the entire Merck Group. And many of our employees, even if they're really highly skilled, we still face, attrition. So what we need to really consider is that many employees in large GCCs report feeling like a small cog in a large machine, even if the work is technically advanced. So what I could share is that to avoid, burnout and disengagement, GCCs really need to move beyond just upskilling. They must foster purpose-driven work environments where employees understand the why behind what they're building. For example, in our procurement functional solutions team, most of them usually just do it day by day, but we have also paved the way for them to think about out-of-the-box solutions that they could provide. And now they're on their way to automating some processes in line with fraud detection. So that's the first one. The second one is let's reimagine leadership for hybrid high engagement teams. And as GCCs grow in strategic importance, leaders must also evolve from being just operational managers to culture carriers and engagement architects. They are especially true now and they're needed, especially in the hybrid environment that we are currently working from now. But many of our mid-level GCCs managers are first-time managers with very limited exposure to global stakeholder dynamics or people leadership training. So I would suggest that our organizations really need to invest in holistic leadership development with a strong focus on coaching, on empathy, on cultural fluency, and hybrid team engagement. The next one is personalization of career paths and employee value proposition. Today's talent, especially the Gen Zs and the millennial professionals, they really value customized growth, flexibility, and meaning. So a one-size-fits-all employee value proposition doesn't really work anymore. And at the same time, they also want flexibility. They also want autonomy and well-being. So we need to move from linear promotion tracks to personalized skills-based career journeys. I am fortunate to work with an organization that really has a one-stop shop of a platform, and we have different various academies that tackle AI to soft skills enhancement to reskilling to upskilling. That's why the journey of our learners are not just linear. It's like a choose your own adventure type of book that they can pick and choose from. What we also would like to do and also foresee in the future is that we could combine the robust engagement enablers like internal mobility. We have a program called Me in Your Shoes program where one employee can actually become, let's say, CEO for the day. I hope it doesn't it doesn't have a very negative effect on the metrics, but it's pretty much like that. We also have a drive your own development thinking within the organization that pretty much makes the learner, puts the learner in the driver's seat. So as we are really evolving, so are employee expectations. The challenge today is not just about finding the right talent, it's keeping them engaged, inspired, and growing. That requires us to build environments where deep skills meet real purpose, where managers lead with empathy, and where each employee's journey feels personal and not just transactional. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, JP. That's a lot of insight from you. And certainly what we heard is a lot of the need for a lot of focus on the employee experience that will help them chart their own path, determine and acknowledge that they are valued within the organization, have an opportunity to chart their own development journey if that is something that is within their capacity and within the structures that are provided by the organization, but can only be enabled by leaders who, as you said, ought to be culture carriers, leaders who demonstrate empathy and focus on coaching as a competency or as a competence to in order to continue not only to identify and hire the right people, onboard them, but also engage them and retain them. Such a awesome set of insights from you, JP, and truly appreciate your inputs. And just about now, we need to shift to Paolo. And Paolo, without batting an eyelash, we actually would like to have you either comment on, remark, or provide your own insights to the very same question that JP responded to. In your view, Paolo, what are those top 2 or 3 considerations that are essential, albeit critical, for key talent in the space today of GCCs? Paolo?
Thank you, June. Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Let me take a second to kind of frame where my perspective is coming from. I wear the 2 hats of country head for Dexcom, which is a medical device company based out of the Philippines, based out of San Diego, but our global GCC hub is Philippine-led first, rather than a lot of the GCCs where it's mostly India-led, and then we have a sub-hub in Lithuania. I'm also it's called the Global In-House Center Council, but we're shifting to follow the vernacular of Global Capability Center Council of the Philippines, where we have about 110 of the 200 or so GCCs that are located in the Philippines, of a subset of Fortune 25 companies, anywhere to some medium-sized $1 billion revenue companies that are starting to build out these types of operations. So, as a council, we get together and have a lot of these conversations and sharing best practices, because that is a key piece, right? I think that from my end, I'm going to focus on part of what the question was earlier, the evolution of what we were moving from the service delivery to strategic partner maturity model of GCCs. And as such, the shift has to change as well, right? And the type of executive that needs to be built out. We have a lot of very good operations leaders. We have a lot of very good people who are operational excellence, process improvement, very specific functional expertise. But I think more and more, because of the prominence of GCCs with the larger enterprise, we're moving away from, and for me, hopefully in 3 to 5 years, we'll lose these 3-letter taglines and just become another place from where we operate as a company globally. And as such, we still have to have, outside of the delivery mindset, that business leader mindset, the understanding, how do you impact the business? How do you understand the P&L? How do you contribute not just to the operating margin, but to the revenue of the company? I've just hosted this week our Chief Commercial Officer, who was here and saw very critically the opportunities that we have as a location to help impact our global commercial strategy. And so as we look at that, the key things that we need to look at is, one, the health. So I saw earlier we were talking about looking at bench planning, bench strength, looking at how do we have the right people in the right roles and the one downs, and are they ready now, ready in 3 years, and do we have a build, buy, borrow strategy for multiple areas, right? And also looking at, as we go, what are the skill sets of the future? What are the co-intelligence is a critical piece that we need to build into all of these conversations, right? And so the leadership skill sets that we have, the global executive, right? I think that more and more we have a lot of cross-country rotational assignments that people take. I myself spent 1.5 years as a center head for Wells Fargo in Hyderabad, and got to learn a significant amount there. And providing employees more of those opportunities to think outside the box, to be outside of the day-to-day. And I think the hybrid environment really helps that as well. because we allow our employees 1 month out of the year, you can work from anywhere, whether you can work from home or you can work from another city within the country, another country within the world, so long as you're meeting your business outcomes, you can do so. And so it allows us for that kind of flexibility. And I think that's very important as we move forward, right? And I think the last piece too is we talked about attrition. I'm a big believer that attrition is good at a certain level, as long as you're losing the right people and you're replacing them with better, right? And so as we look at that, it's having a clear understanding of who are your key critical talent, right? Who are the ones you will have a harder time replacing, and how do you prioritize them in your engagement strategy? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Paolo. I mean, really, building on the initial comments that were provided by Shama and Amit in terms of the history and the origin of focusing on delivery excellence or operational excellence, and now ending with the point that says attrition is actually good if it is to mean that you are to be laser focused in identifying the appropriate talent for bringing the organization towards where the leadership wants it to go relative to where the market is headed for, and defining it as what is needed to be successful. Thank you so much, Paolo, for your inputs for that. And I'd like to turn the floor back to Vivek for his next set of questions. Vivek?
Thank you, June. And it was lovely to hear Paolo's response to the question. I think, Paolo, what you talked about, and it just made me think, is for GCC to contribute at a significantly higher level, the transition of leadership has to be from an operations leader to a business leader. I think that's the part that you highlighted, which also made me think that what are you measuring the leaders on also has to shift. Because if the leaders are measured on metrics like FTR, first time right, they will always work on efficiencies. You get what I'm, but if you have to experiment fast, fail fast, learn fast, what are you being measured on has to change significantly, because that then makes the transition from an operations leader to a business head. And I think that was a very fantastic point that you highlighted. Thank you for that.
Well,
Now
Vivek,
I'd
I
like
was
to.
just going to comment, Vivek, that I think Paolo may have, I don't know, he may have looked at my script, because I think he knows that the next question for him is going to be around leadership. So I just thought that maybe, Paolo, you cheated, huh? All right.
I just do this a lot, Jun.
Back to you, Vivek.
Thank you. Thank you. So my next question I'm directing to Shama. Shama, I know that you are currently a senior leader for a sizable operations of EY GDS India. So from your perspective, what factors have a significant impact or influence on your internal strategies to manage talent and at the same point in time achieve your desired future, the way you have imagined the future? So that's the question for you.
That's a great question, Vivek. Thank you for that. I think a couple of things which are very important for not only for EY but for any GCC to manage talent is, and I think Paulo kind of briefly touched upon it. It's all going in the same direction. I think gone are the days where our talent was measured on KPIs, which was related to efficiency. Gone are the days where talent was measured based on a fixed set of these are the deliverables, send it back at the end of the day, throw it across a few C's for further away, and then you're done for the day. I think what is important for us is, as this industry is maturing, so are the professionals who are working in this industry. So I don't think there'll be many young professionals today who would be very happy doing just processing of the documents, right? They need to know the end-to-end picture. They can't be isolated in their own segments of saying, just do this deliverable, send it across the fence, and then we'll figure out what needs to be done. So I think what is critical, and that is a big one to manage talent, is one, give them the bigger picture, but more importantly, involves them in the complete end-to-end of a process or an engagement or whatsoever work that they are doing, right? That's one. I think equally what is important is this industry has kind of disrupted and I keep on using the word disrupted because this is what this industry means to me, is the way we would do a particular function in any of the organization, right? And hence people having exposure, not only sitting in their GCC centers, whether be it in India or Philippines or any other countries, but traveling across the globe and figuring out what does it mean for clients. I mean, coming from a consulting industry, I'll always say the best way to manage talent expectation and client expectation is to work client backwards. And that is where the talent really gets a high of, oh, I'm really adding a value to whatever I'm doing. So in a nutshell, I think we're talking of Gen Zs and millennials here. We're no longer talking of people who'll be happy just doing a portion of work. So we need to keep them excited as to what they're doing. One, L&D plays a major role. I think their exposure across the globe, and GCCs are the best place these days to make global citizens of the world. And I think that is what is really critical to manage talent. And how it helps to manage our future strategy also is that's effectively what the world needs. No longer anybody needs a person who's just worked in one European country or one Asian country or in US. People would need where you need where anyone can work across the globe, across multiple geographies. The cultural side of it really matters a lot. So I think both these combination together helps, Vivek, and I'll again keep on pondering on to the fact that technology in itself and making our talent upskill on technology. And one of the things that I think JP mentioned earlier, the more we are moving towards AI, the emotional quotient really needs to increase of of our middle management to the senior level management. So I think all in all, we are making a full very well integrated professional who talks of technical skills, who talks of technology, but who understands the emotional intelligence, the EQ side of it. So IQ, EQ, and technology quotient. Difficult combination to get, but that's what this industry should aim at and then work on.
Thank you, Shama. So I heard a few things, and for the purpose of our audience who's joined us, I would like to quickly recap. I think one big thing that you talked about was to show the bigger picture, whether it's the process or the engagement. It's important, just the piecemeal is not going to work anymore. I think that's one. The second important bit was traveling across and giving exposure. And it also helps because one of the principles of working backwards from the clients or from the customers. If you travel, if you go there where the client is, where client is meeting the customers, where client is using your process or product with their customers, it really helps. I think what you also talked about is that the L&D plays a major role. And typically, world wants global citizens because it also broadens their horizon and perhaps also builds a lot of empathy and understanding. And I think the last thing that you talked about is a combination of EI and AI. And rightfully so, you said that, that's quite a lot that we are asking, but why should we lower the benchmark when we're really trying to create a difference, or at least we intend to create a difference? So, thank you. I think what we would also like to do is for the same question, uh, a response from JP would be something that we would be interested in. So, JP, from your perspective, what factors have a significant impact or influence on your internal strategies to manage talent and achieve your desired future? So it's sort of an and. You're managing your talent and also aiming for high future, which means a bigger challenge.
I think I would like to agree with what Case said, that, an understanding of the end to end of it all. Earlier, I mentioned that our employees shouldn't just feel like, small cogs in a wheel, but they should have a greater understanding of how their work contributes to the overall strategy of the organization. Like what's really, how do I contribute? One of the things that we have launched in our organization, and we're talking about locations in Wrocław, Poland, in Montevideo, Uruguay, in the US, in Germany, of course, Philippines, is making sure that there is a cultural exchange among us as well. Not just only cultural exchange, but also functional understanding exchange. We have different functional solutions that range from finance to procurement, even to employee services, which was formerly HR. So an understanding really of how their work plays into the overall scheme of the organization creates, I think, an even added value to them. Another one would really be opportunities for fast track growth. We know as L&D professionals that we can spot talent when we see one, but there has to be a certain rigor with the organization that puts the top talent into consideration, whether it be lunches with the CEOs or the CFOs, exposure to executive level also plays into that as well. And I think also another one is really keeping work fun. It's a very cliched statement, but I think it really adds to that, ensuring that our employees are happy with the benefits that they receive. We've expanded, reconsidered several benefits that we put in place ever since the pandemic, and one of which is fertility benefit across the board. We also have caregiver benefits that allows our employees to ensure that we're there for the people who matter to us the most, which is our loved ones. So I think there isn't really, I don't want to create or expound on a framework per se, because learning is agile for us, but more importantly, the reactions of our employees would have to trump whatever framework that we have based on our employee engagement surveys, based on the feedback that we get. There has to be a certain consideration for how they would also like, to be managed. There's no one tried and tested framework that ensures that.
Thank you, JP. So, of course, you did talk about, and I think that's one theme which is coming out end to end. So, and your phrase that you used was not a cog in the wheel. They used to have, the employees, you must have an understanding of end to end. I think the other thing that you talked about is opportunities for fast track growth. They should be there, and they should be communicated, and that's important. And I mean, another thing that you talked about was very interesting, brought a smile to many faces. I'm pretty sure is making work fun, and the kind of benefits that really have an impact to be thought through and then communicated, like the fertility caregiver benefit that you talked about. And I think one of the responses to the earlier question was also about from you was about creating or helping people create their individual purpose. That you alluded to as part of the earlier question. So I think all great points, and we're all making notes. Thank you very much, JP. And I hand over to June now. June, to you. Over to you.
Thank you, Vivek. And Paulo, I'm going to direct this question to you, and I believe appropriately, because you did talk about earlier the necessary and important shift of leadership from focusing on delivery excellence or efficiency or operational excellence to what Vivek had summed up to which you agreed on, which is the need for business leadership. So I guess focus away from performance or operational metrics, while that is important, but still ensure that you are adopting a visionary attitude and looking at the entire business moving forward or in a sustainable and a growth mode. How does one look at that, and where do you think the leaders need to focus on to make that shift and therefore optimize or maximize the contribution to a GCC entity? Paulo?
Thanks, John. I think first and foremost in this space, right, it's that mindset of growth, right? Having that growth mindset, having that learning mindset, that's a key critical component to start making those shifts, right? How do you look at your career, your contribution? How do you show off as a leader, right? And understanding we always joke around about 360s are very painful, but they're very real, right? And so how do you come across to senior leaders? How do you come across to the people who work for you? I think across the board, having that as part of your DNA as we move forward is a critical piece, right? It's something that all leaders should be not just focused on their deliverables, right? Mm-hmm. But their leadership mindset, right? And I think that there's a difference there. I think that one of the examples we like to use is that, we need to shift away from kind of measuring your relevance by how many people report into you, right? Because for me, that's, I mean, as we move forward, it's not, I have 20,000 people reporting into me, but what does that really mean, right? In terms of you as a leader and understanding your impact and how you show and how you contribute on your own. I think there are folks who have diminished their opportunities because they would not take an assignment, foreign assignment, because there's something that was difficult for them. I think those are the things that as leaders, and it has to be purposeful, right? And then I talk about these things, but this is something that for me and my leadership team, we look at when we have interactions with the next layer of leaders and their direct reports. It's something that in multiple levels of conversation, we have to insert that change and that shift in mindset as we go down and ensure that we have a way to measure, are we moving the needle in terms of how they're thinking about things, right? How do you get that feedback channel up and down across the board, right? Because if we don't get that whole mindset shift, it's difficult to move up that maturity model as an entire enterprise or as an entire location, because there'll be different perspectives, right? And then different perspectives are good. And then sometimes we will still need operators, right? We will still need folks who are very happy to do their work on a day-to-day basis, turn the lights off, go home to their family, and live that way. Especially in the Philippines, that's something where we in past lives, and June and my past life a long 15 years ago, we were wondering, why won't people take that next promotion to manage other people? Like, oh, we don't want the added responsibility. We just want to do this work, which is fair, right? And then in the other spaces I've been with, people can't wait to get to that next level, right? So how do you be able to find a way to, make sure that the folks who do the steady Eddies, the ones who want to do their job, are feeling part of that journey, and at the same time, those who want to progress know that they own their career and have that shift in their head to go through. From an organizational perspective, we just have to create the environment, the infrastructure, the opportunities, the experiences for hat development to grow, to make that shift up the maturity level.
Thank you, Paulo. Some takeaways I thought I heard you say is that to make that mindset shift, leaders need to be able to reimagine relevance. Earlier, you defined relevance as a leader possibly looking at how big his organization that reports up to him. But now leaders need to be, as using your terms now, purposeful. And perhaps, and I'm paraphrasing what I heard you say, you need to be discerning, to be able to look at their one-downs and all of the other members of the organization beneath his function, to look at whether these individuals are actually keen or eager to move forward, or are quite happy where they are, and to continue to be engaged. And therefore, in that individual or unique way, still optimize their contribution, because not everyone wants to be promoted, as you said, and not everyone necessarily wants to be just to stay where they are. And therefore, the leader needs to be really keen, empathetic, actively listening, discerning, and purposeful. I'm going to make an announcement to the panelists before I turn over to Shama to comment on the same question. In the interest of time, we will ask Shama to respond to the same question, but to close this panel later, we were going to ask each of you to prepare a 1-minute response to a question that has been posted on the chat. And that's how we will end this panel. So we were going to ask Shama now to please respond to the same question that you can see has been asked to Paulo. But at the same time, please consider being able to make a reply to the question that we will repost on the chat, which is coming from a participant whose name is Glenn. Shama, over to you to please comment on the same question that Paulo had just replied to.
Sure. Thanks, June. I would fully agree with Paulo. I think the leaders in GCC, and considering this industry has been just about 2 decades old, it was good for them to be measured and be very passionate about the number of people that they would manage, or the team size, or the number of locations or centers that they would manage. I think if we seriously need this industry to change its value proposition, the leaders also need to think through into what is the mindset with which I would need to run my organization. It can't be the same mindset of X number of people, X number of delivery centers working across 5 time zones, and this is what my model for success. Because there's another element which would come in the GCC space, or which has already started coming in, is when people like me started our career in GCCs about 2.5 decades back, GCCs were cost efficiency. So all they brought in was margin enhancement or profit enhancement. That is, we were not focusing on the top line. Now GCCs are top line enablers also. Now, if GCCs have to bring in more top line to the organization, they can't be measured in the same manner as they were measured earlier. And this to me is a huge change in the mindset. I do think the next generation of GCC leadership, people who are making their careers now in the last 1 decade, would have that coming more naturally than some of us who started our career originally with GCCs being cost centers and not revenue centers. So that's a huge change. Another thing, June, that I would want to add, and it goes back to the emotional quotient. I have often seen, and I'm making a very journalist statement here, so apologies for that in advance, is in GCCs, I have seen, people getting very insecure of their own positions. And that's a very leadership trait, which is normally seen quite open and quite adaptive in the GCC environment. I do think the GCC leadership has to change. As an industry, we change roles every 3 years. You move into different roles, you think of client facing, you think of innovation, etc. I do think GCCs will have to come to that shape. Some of them are doing, not all of them, and that's where this industry will have to bring about a huge differentiating factor. And this is where, if I were to read Glenn's question also, this is where the thought of the development opportunities for the leadership should come in. Because there is another element which I'm sure people in the panel would agree is, after spending about 15-20 years, many of the GCC leaders would find themselves coming at a career plateau, because there's nothing more to do. There's only as much of expansion of a GCC that one can do. So they'll have to self-invent themselves into the new S-curves for their own careers, is what I would say.
Thank you so much, Shama. Something that we had heard earlier from people like Paulo, and of course, even JP, and to some extent Amit, that the leadership really needs to make that shift, need to pivot, need to demonstrate agility, perspective, and a deep discerning sense and purposefulness. Earlier I said that we will close this session by enabling our 4 panelists to answer the question posted by one of our participants on chat. Regrettably, we do not have the time for that. So while we invite our 4 panelists to remain, and perhaps invite them if there's an opportunity to chat and reply to Glenn on that question, but in the interim, in the meantime, I will have to turn back to the floor to Vivek, because all good things, they say, also need to come to an end. And so while the panel has been going really great, I'll turn it over back to Vivek.
Thank you, June. So as we close, I think I'm just referring to the last 2 comments from Paolo and from Shama. I think one was about the idea of impact and contribution from the GCC leadership. Is it about building a big organization underneath me and how many people are reporting into me? Or is it about really making an impact which the parent organization, with respect to their stakeholders, they can clearly see? And for that, I think Shama pointed out that for that to happen, the leaders should not be insecure. They have to, challenge themselves to learn new things, to create, as she rightly used the word, to create their own S curves. So it was a beautiful segue from Paolo to Shama. And it's also, as my dear friend June said, everything good comes to an end. So this ends our panel discussion. And we wish to once again express our appreciation for our esteemed panelists who generously shared their time with us and permitted us to get a glimpse of what success in the GCC world looks like today and what would it mean for tomorrow. and that tomorrow can be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years down the line. So once again, we thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dear panelists, thank you. We
Thank-
turn over to Patty.
Thank you. Wow. I'm less words with all the knowledge downstream that I happen to get from this interesting conversation and panel discussion. So a big thank you to all our panelists for investing your valuable time with us today and for your compelling insights in the context of the talent trends that we are exploring in the GCC, not only limited to a country, but across APAC. And to Vivek and June, our partners, for steering such an engaging discussion. We have the last leg of the session today, so I will request all the participants to stay put. And I take this opportunity to introduce our dear friend and one of our esteemed clients, Dotan Ben Mir. And he's the Chief Operating Officer of Qualitest. And he's present here today to share how new solutions have effectively driven leadership development at Qualitest across multiple geographies. Dotan, welcome once again, and over to you.
Hey,
I'll
Patty,
stop
thank
sharing
you.
my screen.
Thanks, Patty, and was wonderful to see all the discussion before. Very interesting morning where we have. Let me share my screen. Hopefully that you can see the presentation, and we are good to go. So before I start, so I'm a bit about myself. I am based in Israel, but I worked in Asia Pacific, I think, for probably 2/3 of my career, from Australia and Southeast Asia and Thailand. Qualitest is a global company, and I'll expand soon, but we've started our journey with news in 2021, and sort of we in partnership since, and I'm very happy to share our experiences since. A bit about Qualitest and who we are and what we do. I'll do it very shortly, but it is an important background to understand where we are coming from. So we have a trajectory or a history of many years in the tech industry, if we can say. We were established in '97 as a very small company in Israel. We grew since, so from 2 or 5 employees, we are much more today. Some of the growth was organic, some not. But this is part of our journey. So we grew organically, then we acquired company, then we were acquired by a venture capital or a private equity company, and then we grew further and we moved to a different private equity, and that impacts our leadership, that impacts our directions, and also the culture of the company, as we want to try and speak in the same organizational language. Qualitest today is the leading AI-powered quality engineering firm. Our mission that drives us is going through a strong partnership with our clients, which is the world's largest logos overall. From a people and talent perspective, it's important for us to make sure us and the leadership are building a great place to work for our employees. As we grow into the future, we mentioned previously this morning AI and other features. This is definitely over there. We're doing a transformation from what was maybe 2 decades ago, the traditional quality assurance and brand assurance, etc., to quality engineering and to digital engineering and to the next level of technology. Quality is recognized across industries and across different analysts, and just sort of like putting it over there. We're not big in sizes of other, let's say, big 4 or big 5 consulting or technology firms, but we're big enough to be there in the different quadrants. As I said before, we're global. We are now 8,000 employees worldwide. Started in Israel, but we, again, not an Israeli company anymore. I always say we're in a funny organization where our CEO sits in the US, our CFO is in the UK, and COEs are in India, and we sort of like all over the place, and that's how we operate. But you can see here our sort of global spread. I mentioned before we are across industries, so we in the defense and government industries, BFSI, technology, media and gaming, and in other areas. Besides specific industry where we avoid from ethical reasons, we work with all companies, all large companies worldwide. A bit about our challenge and what brought us to the partnership with News. So I mentioned before, we grew very fast, organically and non-organically. I'm 4 years in the company. When I joined in 2021, we were about 2,000 employees. As I showed before, we 8,000. It's a fast growth, and our foundations were not strong enough to support that growth from a leadership point of view. One of the challenges of acquiring different companies and growing very fast is that we're going to all directions, which created challenges around our shared values and shared organizational language and how we work together and what we train our new leaders to be and how we shape them to be leaders in our organization. As we have very different managerial styles and managerial legacy, that was quite interesting to see in the first sessions or in the focus groups that we've done. If we acquired a small company that had their own style, we acquired a larger company that had their own style. People that are here in the company for 20 years had their own identity on what leadership is. So that was quite a challenge we had to bridge. Our first line leaders, very similar to many other technology companies, grew from the ground up, meaning they were a very good team member and then they were promoted to a new team leader, not necessarily with the right background or the right preparation or the right criteria moving forward. And we had a new leadership stepping in, new CEO, and he brought with him new leadership as well, which created another change. And as I said before, we grew very, very fast. So that was, or these were our main challenges as we stepped into the process. And we basically built a program that had 3 areas. One is for team leaders or first-time managers, which are new and potential leaders in our organization. Focus is how I shift from an individual contributor to a manager, give them the core leadership tools and develop their own leadership style. The second one that we created was the manager as a coach, where we have senior leaders or senior manager, the next level, the managers of the managers. How do I shift to manage other managers reporting to me? Shifting into a leadership position. How do I develop my own constructive leadership style using coaching techniques, which was a new language we brought into the organization. And the next level is the pathway to the future. So that was a program we built for high potential employees to make sure that we help them looking at a career at Qualitas. So we have employees in the company that are 20 years, but our main challenge, I think we've mentioned before, the Gen Z, etc. Our actual age in the company is 28. So most of our employees are below 30. While we do have all the generations, this is the majority of the company. So we need to think of how we build a vision for them to stay longer in the company. There wasn't an easy journey. In order to build those programs, we had a variety of focus groups across the geos. We've trained so far more than 400 new potential team leaders and more than 200 managers and senior managers. We delivered it in 6 different countries, 8 different time zones. Then we have facilitators, about 7 facilitators. We actually added 9 countries, not 6. And feedbacks were extremely positive overall for this program. So we are looking at 4.5 out of 5, which was soft skills. We believe it's a very, very strong feedback. from a perspective of high potentials, this is something that we've launched, and we added another one which we've done as a pilot for our sales team or account management teams. I wanted to see how they can work with the Compass, the news methodology to approach conversation. It was quite an interesting experiment. So I'm looking at from a point of view, okay, how do I create effective conversations? It doesn't mean if this conversation is with a client, with my spouse, or with my employees. There was a very interesting shift that we've tried to do with our account management teams. These were sessions in a brief, so most of it was online with an LMS that we've launched as well. The sessions we could physically, we've done that in person as well. There's no replacement for the in-person discussions and feeling that you have in the room and the atmosphere that you can create when everybody is in the same place. But definitely, we managed to run a very effective program. It was about 14 hours overall with 4 different sessions, and with the limited time that we have, and I think there was someone from EY here, so I guess she knows the challenges when you need to have all the employees billable and you measure their time. Every time spent on training is a challenge that you need to work within the organization. So we condensed everything into 14 hours, which was a very interesting experiment. Going down straight to the impact. So overall, we've built a good mechanism to assess the and survey the program, and both from graduates or completion, or from managers of the managers, how they felt when the employees came back after the course itself. What we want to make sure is that we are making an impact on the organization and making a difference. There's many leadership programs out there. For us, it was important not necessarily to have something very different, but to have something that works, that we can replicate and do it simultaneously in a few different countries, a few different locations, but keep the content and the message consistent as much as possible. That helps us bridge the gap that we had. Then going into the bottom line, so we managed in the last 4 years, year over year, to improve engagement. We're also looking within the engagement specifically on the leadership related scores, if it's about feedback, conversations, quality, etc. These are things that we measure, and we managed to get and see a very significant improvement year over year, which was very good to see. We also measure the satisfaction from the one-on-one discussion and performance conversations, etc. We can see an increase in satisfaction from employees' perspective. Also, managers reporting, yes, we can actually have higher quality conversations now compared to what we could have done before. And we also managed to demonstrate that our team engagement is on the rise, and our teams are better connected, they work better together, and overall they report higher engagement. Other ingredients that we are measuring, and again, it's always hard to relate results to a specific program or a specific action, but overall in the last 4 years, we've experiencing an improved retention of our talent. Our brand scoring is going up. Collaboration, which we measure, and it's one of our values, is improving across the organization. So not to say everything is because of one program, but this program, together with many other efforts that we are putting together in direction of moving up and forward, helped us, and that's an opportunity to say thank you to our partners in news, and Paddy, you were one of the facilitators in India as well, so it was a good collaboration, and thanks everybody for the opportunity to present what we've done. And Paddy, the floor is back to you. About yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rutan, and thank you. Really interesting and impressive in terms of how you've been able to weave the entire fabric of learning into the day-to-day model and also measuring impact in multiple ways. And it was really a pleasure to be one of the facilitators for the leadership excellence journey in your organization. And thank you indeed for showcasing how the new solutions have made a tangible difference at Qualitist. And on that note, I would like to welcome the last speaker for the day, and it's none other than the CEO of News Navigation, Sarah Marcus, and she's here to deliver the closing remarks and summarize the key takeaways from this APAC Summit of 2025. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paddy. And wow. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my friends. I am delighted to be here today. It has been a truly enriching summit. As we wrap up, let's reflect on the key takeaways from today's discussions. So our founder and visionary Aviad Ghoz emphasized the importance of navigating change with clarity, purpose, and alignment, the very essence of news model for a global leadership. Elaine spoke about the critical need to embrace emerging GCC talent trends, a powerful blend of digital readiness and human-centric leadership to drive sustainable growth across APAC. Our insightful panel discussion, wow, what a discussion, from the industry leaders highlighting the adaptability, cultural integration, and future-ready skills are the key pillars for talent transformation in GCCs. And finally, Dotan Ben Meir shared the inspiring case studies of how Qualitist leveraged new solutions to effectively align leadership development across geographies and a game-changing strategy that drove their organizations to growth. So, and in this spirit of innovation and leadership, I'm especially proud to share a new initiative that aligns perfectly with all the needs that leaders have today. And of course, we heard about it throughout this amazing summit. So we are proud to introduce one of the most innovative solutions in the world of executive coaching and organizational navigation, the Aviad Ghoz AI. This is the digital presence of our thought leader, whom you've already met earlier, Aviad Ghoz. At the heart of this AI lies Aviad's creation of the News Compass. Now, this proven methodology has become scalable, personalized, and accessible through the power of AI. Aviad Ghoz AI enables leaders to ask meaningful questions, reflect in real time, and make better decisions with the reassurance presence of a mentor and a coach beside them through AI. If you would like to be among the first to experience it at an exclusive introductory plan, please let us know at the end of the summit, and we will gladly send you a personal invitation. We believe that this AI has the potential to support every leader navigating complexity, and we would be honored to bring it to you and your organization. As we draw this summit to a close, I wish to extend a heartfelt thank you to all our esteemed panelists, speakers, and all the participants for making the News APAC Summit 2025 insightful, impactful, and truly memorable. Thank you all for making it all possible. A special appreciation goes to Padma Javaswani, our dynamic host and moderator, for steering us through the event with such finesse and energy. I would also like to thank our partners in APAC for making this event such a memorable learning opportunity, and a very special thank you to Ashwarya and Trina for bringing this event together. So thank you, everyone, and I'm really looking for the next summit.
Thank you, Sarah. And on that note, we draw the closure for the News APAC Summit 2025. Let's continue to connect, share knowledge, and navigate the evolving landscape of not only the GCC talent and leadership together, but also many industries that we bring to the foray. Stay inspired, stay connected, and keep leading with purpose. And that was the message we took from all our panelists today. On that note, thank you and see you all in the next season. Bye-bye and have a lovely rest of the day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.